Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sunny, your host, and in this lecture, we are going to study what is variables in Python. So, variables are actually a very important concept in any of the programming language. It is not just stick to Python only. So, what are variables? Like, if I just go by the name here, so variables are nothing but this is a value which can change, right? So, in a similar concept, like in Python also, we can define variables, okay, whose value can change over the time or whenever it is required. Okay, so let's take one example here. So let's say we have a print statement where we are going to, let's say, get the twice of a number. Okay, so the twice of a number is, so here we can define, either I can write 4 times 2, and if I run it, I forgot the comma here. So if I run it here, so if you just, so you will get that the twice of a number is 8. So now what is happening here is, like, whenever if I run it again, so it will keep on giving me same values, right? But I want to change this number. Okay, I want this to be dynamic here. So what I will do is I will just write here x, and I will define x is equals to 4 here. So in this way, what will happen, that this x value will keep on replaced by the value of this variable x. Okay, so let's say if I run it again, and if I now change it to, let's say, 6 or 5, so you will see that this statement will remain like that. I am only changing the value here. So that's a very simple example of variable. Now let's take one more example here. Let's say the lecture name. Okay, so right now, let's say this is a lecture of maybe introduction to variable in Python, and I want to print that the name of this lecture. Okay, so I will say that this is a lecture of, and I will just simply put that variable name lecture. So now if I run this, okay, I did not save it, let me run it. So you can see that this says that this is the lecture of introduction to variable in Python. If I change it to, let's say, introduction to Python, the name of the lecture, so it will update it here like introduction to Python. So you can see that this is like name, or this is, you can think of this as a label which I provided to this value. So in that way, I don't have to just copy paste, keep on copy pasting here itself. And so in the same way, like to this number, okay, I provided a value, or sorry, a provided label here, and I don't have to change it again and again in the program. And now let's take some more example. But before that, let me introduce you to one more simple concept, which is called as f string in Python. So what I will do is, or I will write this in a better way here. So let me copy paste here. And this is the most frequently used, okay, nowadays in Python, and it is very easy to use also. So what I have to do is, like, I will just use f here in front of the starting statement, this here. And what I will do is, instead of writing this lecture here, I will use a curly braces here, and I will put lecture inside this. Now if I run this again, so you will see that it will give me the similar result, but this is more readable, right? Now let me give you a few more examples so that it will become clear. Let's say if I write here my name as Sunny, and let's say I write age also. So age, let's say 27. And what I can do is I can simply write, if I have to do it in earlier ways, let's say if I want to print my age and name, so what I have to do is, like, I have to write here that my name is, then comma, name, and then again if I have to use it in the same line, so I have to write again that, and my age is this way. So this will work fine. But let's say I don't want to I want to write them in a single line. So what I will do is I will simply use f string here, and I will rewrite it again. I will say that my name is, in curly braces, name, and my age is this. Now if I run it, so you can see that it is giving me the same results, but without let's say if I forget a comma here and this, so it will throw an error also. So it's better, like, I should go with this approach. You will see that whenever I'll be using in upcoming lectures, so you will realize that it is a better representation of the above. So this is I'm going to use more frequently in my lectures. Now one more thing that I would like to tell you here is that, let's say if you forget the f in front of it, so what happens? It will not throw any error, but you will see that this string will be printed as it is. Let me show you that. So you can see that it is at the end, it is also printing the variable name as it is, because I forgot the f string here. So always keep this in mind, that do not forget f in the beginning. Okay, now let's take more example to reinforce this understanding of variables. So let's say if I want to write a table of a number up to, let's say, 10. Okay, so what I will do is, let's say I will define that value as x is equals to 5, and I will say that table of a number up to 10, and what is that number? That number is x. And if I want to print the, let's say, 5 times 1, so I will simply say that x times 1 is equals to x times 1. And similarly, if I want to do it for the 2, so I will simply write here 2, x times 2. And then if I run it now, so you will see that it is printing till 5 times 1 as 5, 5 times 2 as 10. That means it is working absolutely fine, right? So let's write this for all 10 values. So now if I run it again, and also let me comment these whatever is before this, so that we will only see the final outcome here. Now you can see if I run it, so it is printing the table of 5. Now if I have to change anything, so I will simply change the number here. Let's say if I want to see the table of 7, so you can see that I'm just changing this 1 times, and if I run it, so you will see that it is going to print the final outcome. Now what is the advantage here is that the advantage of using variable also here is that you have to change only a few times only. Now let's say if I do not use this variable x here, so I have to change it multiple times here. Okay, so that is the advantage of using variables in like any programming language, not just specific to Python. So x is behaving as a label here, right? Label to this number 7, and this number is no need to have only this. It can be any number, like it can be a decimal number also. Let's say if I want to write a value of, if I want to write a table of 7.5, if I run this again, so it will see, it will going to give you all the value, like, okay, table of 7.5. So that's a great feature, right? So that's the major use case of variables. Now let's try to see that what are the rules, convention and features of writing or defining a variable in Python. So let's go, and also I will comment this out so that it will not unnecessarily print everything here. So let's try to understand the first rule here, that is of defining names. So variable names can contain letters, it can contain numbers and underscore only, but it cannot start with a number. Okay, so let's try to understand this with some definition here. So let's say variable names, or let's say correct variable names. Okay, so I can define it as, let's say my variable is equals to, maybe let's say value can be 10. Now it could be, you can see it is containing underscores, and if you do not want to contain anything, so it can also have just simple all small letters as well, and it can have underscore 1, it can have underscore, as you can see. And if you want to define them as after this also, if you want to put 1, so you can keep it. And even you can also define in this way, let's say if you want to define any like this way, any capitals in between, so that is also possible, and you can even do this way. And apart from that, yeah, you can even start with underscore as well. And also if you want to start with capitals, that is also fine, but these two are not preferred. These are not preferred generally, and we will talk about them in the convention. Okay, when I will be defining the convention, so I will talk about these, that okay, why I will not prefer this approach. Or also let's say if you keep all of them capitals, so that is also not preferred generally. Okay, so we will understand this into convention, but these all are allowed as a variable name. So let's run this, and you will see that there is not going to be anything, it will not print anything, but you will see also it was not going to give you any error as well. So now let's try to understand, let's try to see that okay, what are some incorrect ways to define variables or against above rules. Some examples above against above rules. So let's say if I start with 1, let's say if I write in this way, and if I try to run this, you can see it is already giving you some like squiggly line here, red squiggly line, which says that it's going to throw an error. Okay, and if I run it again, so you can see it gives you a syntax error here, right? So this is an incorrect approach. Now let's take one more example. Let's say if I have variable like this, and if I use @ at the end, okay, or any special symbol, and if I try to run it, so you will see that again it will going to give you invalid syntax. Okay, that means it's a wrong approach. So these are the two examples which are incorrect. Okay, so that is the rule number 1. Now let's talk about the rule number 2, that is variables are case sensitive. That means if I have two variables, let me pick some example from here itself. Let's say this is maybe this is 22, and let's say if I change the last value, that is to capital E. So these two values are actually different. Although I can, if I have to read it, so I will write my variable, I will read it as my variable only, but these two are different. How to check that? So one approach is simply use a print statement. So you will see their outcome will be different only. It is not going to be same. Let's try to run this. So you can see 10 and 22, both are different values. Got it? I hope you have got this clear here. Now let's try to understand the rule number 3. So rule number 3 is actually very important here again. So variable names cannot be same as Python keywords or inbuilt function. So Python keywords are nothing but these are, you can think of them as a vocabulary of Python language, and some inbuilt functions are there. These are reserved values, okay, reserved keywords, or you can say reserved vocab of Python, which you should always avoid to use it. Now let me give you one example. So let's say there is a keyword in Python that is called as for. If I try to give it a value, and if I try to print the value of for, and if I run this, you will see it is going to give you a syntax error because it's a reserved keyword. So you should avoid this. Variable names cannot be a inbuilt keyword or Python keyword. So I will comment this out. Now if you want to correct this, so what you can do, you can simply use some other values. And also you can see whenever I am writing here, so you can see it is already being highlighted as red, okay, because it's a keyword, inbuilt keyword. And it can, like, it depends upon also the ID. Let's say if you're using any other ID, so it will be of different color. So let's say if I write F here, so now you can see it is not going to give you any issue. Let's try to run this. So you can see it's going to print 2. That means it's correct. Now also let me comment this out so that I will not be getting these as an outcome. Okay, so now let me show you one more example here. So let's say I have a value is equals to, let's say, print. If I assign value to print as, let's say, 22. And if I try to print the value of this, so you will see that it's not going to give you an outcome. Okay, let me save it and run. So you can see it says a type error. That means that this is not allowed. So how to correct this? Simply use some other value here. Let's say P. So let's say you can see that if I am using this, whenever I'm using an inbuilt function, so you can see it is turned green already. And when I was using any inbuilt keyword, so it was turned red. So every IDE has a different way of representing keywords and inbuilt functions. So you should always be aware about that. Okay, now if I try to run this, you can see that it's going to print the outcome that we are looking for. Now, so you must be thinking that, okay, what are the like different keywords and what are the different built-in functions? So in order to print those values, okay, so I will simply import keyword. Now, if you are a beginner in Python, if you're seeing this for the first time, so don't worry, this we will cover, this import keywords we will be covering later on. Right now, I just want to show you that what are the available keywords. So this is the way to check to get those values. Keyword list. And if I try to run this, so you see that it is going to give you all those keywords which are available. So I have shown you one example here, that is for. Similarly, there will be others as well. And you can see import is also a keyword, because of which I was able to import this keyword. So these are the input keyword list. So if you want to get all the keyword lists, so you can use this. Now, if you want to get the input inbuilt functions, okay, inbuilt methods or functions, so we can simply import built-ins, and I write print and then again dir. So don't worry if you do not understand any of this, it's totally fine, because we are going to cover it in the later lectures. So let me run this. You can see that it is going to print all the inbuilt methods, functions, and inbuilt errors as well. So you may have already seen some errors like syntax error only, type error we have seen, and here you will see there is a print statement, right? Print function. So this is also available here, and we were also using dir just now, so you should also see that as well. You see dir. So these are some of the inbuilt functionality which is already present in Python. So always avoid these names while defining the variable, and no need to remember any of this, right? No need to remember any of these keywords and built-ins. You will automatically learn through the errors, because Python will not allow you to pass. Okay, so definitely you will get an error, and with that you can understand that, okay, you have made a mistake. Okay, apart from that, every ID will also be telling you that this is a inbuilt function, this is a keyword, by highlighting them into a different color. So that is the major use of IDEs these days. So I will leave this as it is for you guys. Next, let's talk about the conventions. So conventions in Python is nothing but, there are some, like I will say, rules, but these rules are not enforced, but these are general convention that you should follow. The first says that a hidden variable always defined as following. It should start with an underscore. That is the convention that you should follow while defining a hidden variable. Okay, so hidden variable is nothing but, this is a non-public variables which you don't want your users to be using. So these are the hidden variables, and if you do not understand this, it's totally fine. In the upcoming lectures, I will be telling about this. When I will be using it, I will definitely highlight that. So as of now, just understand there is something called as hidden variables, which is to be used internally in the program. It should not be shown to any user, okay, or should be allowed to use. Although you can definitely use it, there is no restriction, but it's a convention. Next thing is that generally names of the variables should start with a small letter. Why so? Because normally what happens that when you're starting something with the capital letter, there is actually a convention that it's a class, so which we are going to utilize in the upcoming lectures. As of now, it's totally fine if you do not understand that. So this is a correct convention, that if you're starting with, if you're writing the variable name as this way, so that is absolutely correct. Okay, so that is a convention. So always give variable names in this manner, like it should always start with a small letters. Next is name of the constants should be capitals. Okay, now what is constants? Constant nothing but the values which are not going to change. So let me give you one perfect example here. So you might be remembering from mathematics, there is a value called as pi, whose value is already predefined. So there is, I'm writing just 3.14 here, or you can simply write 22/7 also. That is also absolutely fine. So that is the predefined value of pi, which is not going to change. This is a constant value. Now let's say if I want to calculate a radius, or area of a circle, and where the radius given is, let's say 3. So area of circle will be pi r square. So pi radius square. Now here, instead of writing radius square, I'm writing radius times radius. That is also radius square only. Okay, but if you want to write radius square, so in Python, if you want to raise any power, so you can write in this way. So either of these two statements are totally fine. Now let's try to print these outcomes. So I will again write, you can see the perfect use of f string here. So I will simply say that area of circle with radius. What is the radius? This radius variable is again area of circle. And now since area of circle is always unit square, so I will simply write here unit square. So now if I run this, you will see that it's going to give you area of circle with radius 3 is 28 point this unit square. Now let's say if I change this value of radius to let's say 5, so it will give you the value of area of circle with radius 5. So you can see this is how good use of variable here is. And since pi is a constant, so I'm defining this as a capital, all capitals, and radius is a variable. So you all know that, okay, if you want to keep on calculating with the other radius value, so you have to just change this value. Nothing you have to change, rest of the things will remain as it is. So I hope till now you have got the overall clarity that what variables are. Okay, and we are going to use it in very frequently in the upcoming lectures as well. So now let's look into the some features of variables in Python. Okay, so let's talk about the first feature. So the first feature says that there is no need to declare variable before assigning a value to it. So what does this mean is that in other languages you have to define a variable, let's say or declare a variable. So let's say if you have x and if its value is going to be, let's say, integer, so you have to tell that it is an integer and you have to say that x integer of, let's say, 12. So this is how you have to define. But in Python, it is not required. Okay, in Python, you can simply say that integer x is equals to 2 and it will understand that it is a integer. It will understand, okay, in Python. So that is the advantage of Python. Now let's say if you want to write it, let's say maybe an example text here. So you don't have to tell that, okay, it is the type of this. It will try to understand that, okay, it is a string or it is a text. It will try to understand that. So that is the one of the features in Python. But let's say if you want to tell the user or that what is these value contain, so there is an approach in Python which you can follow, which is called as type hint. That means you can give the hint to the user that it is an integer and its value is going to be 2. And let's say if you want to give it a text is defined in Python as str. Okay, so you can simply say that example text. So this is also one of the like conventions, or if you want to tell the user that, okay, what is the type of this, and no need to worry about this. This is something advanced which we will be covering up later, the exact use case of this one. But as of now, just understand in this way that you don't have to tell Python that, okay, what is the value type of the value, whether it is a number, whether it is a text, it doesn't matter. Okay, it will pick up. So that is the one of the features of Python variables. Now next one feature is that you can assign values to multiple variables in just one line. Now what is this advantage here is, let's say if I write x, y, and then z, its value is, let's say, 23 or like anything, like it could be anything. Here also it could be anything. So instead of writing them in just multiple lines, you can even write them as in a single line as well. So let's say x comma y comma z, it will be 235, 135, and 12. This is also allowed in Python. So in this way also you can declare the variables, so you can define them into just one line in Python. And it's not mandatory that it has to be numbers only, so you can also have a text here. That is also perfectly fine. And if you want to print their outcome, so you can simply print their outcome. You will see that it is going to give you the same answer. So let me comment this out and let's run this. So you can see 235, 135, and then text printing. So that is also one of the features. Now let's look into some of the more examples so that it will reinforce your learning here. So let's say if you want to calculate the area of a rectangle or geometric properties of a rectangle. Okay, so I will simply write length. Let's say length is 10 and width is, let's say, 20. And next is, let's say if you want to calculate the area of circle or area of rectangle actually. So it will going to be length times. And if you want to calculate the, let's say, perimeter, that's going to be 2 times length plus width. Okay, so this will be the perimeter. And if you want to print these outcomes, I will simply write here print f. I will simply say that for rectangle with length as length and width as width. If I write here print, now first of all, let's say area of rectangle will be is equals to area of rectangle here, and perimeter of rectangle will be perimeter. This will be again unit square and this will be units. So if I run it, so you can see that for rectangle with 10 length 10 and width 20, the area of rectangle will be 200 units square and the perimeter of the rectangle is 60 units. So you can see again the perfect use of variables. So now these are too much mathematical examples, so let me also give you one more general example. So let me comment this out. So let's say if I talk about an example of, let's say, Amazon. Okay, so on Amazon, let's say you have a cost of shirt which you want to purchase. So cost of shirt, let's say it's 600. Okay, and you want to purchase units. So let's say if you want to purchase 3 shirts, so what will be the amount payable? That will be simply is equals to cost of the shirt times units to purchase. That will be the total amount payable, right? And so I will simply write here that again, cost of one shirt will be cost of shirt, and then let's say units purchased is units to purchase, and then I will simply write here that amount payable. Let's say if you are shopping in India, so it will be in INR or rupees, so this will be amount payable. Now if I run this, so you can see that cost of one shirt is 600, unit is to purchase is 3, and total amount is 1800. So you may have seen, right, whenever you add something to a cart, so there you keep on adding the number of units. So it's the same example, but in Python. So this is one of the real use case. So normally what happens, the backend will be written into some other language, but it can also be written into Python. So what happens, like whenever you click, let's say if you have clicked, selected a shirt, so you have added it to cart. So your total amount will be showing into cart will be 600. Now let's say if you increase the number of units, so let's say 1, 2, 3, so it will give you, right, and it will give you a total outcome as multiple of this. Okay, and if there are other items, so it will simply give you other items that it will at the end it will show you that amount payable in INR will be this, right? And after that you can make the payment, right? So this is another simple use case of variables in Python. So I hope now you have got the entire clarity of about variables. And so I will be uploading this lecture and also this file as well. So till then, guys, keep on learning and keep on exploring. Thank you all, and see you all in the next session.